Shalom, we're continuing with preparation for Torah portion Shalach, the Torah portion that deals with Israel entering the border of the promised land and the 12 spies scouting out the land. Now, if you read this passage regarding the 12 spies, it seems like Yahweh commanded it. But if you read the parallel verse in Deuteronomy, you'll actually see that it was man or Israel who requested to send in spies. So they didn't believe Yahweh. It was through unbelief that the spies were chosen and sent into the promised land. And I guess the 10 of the 12, they were the skeptic ones. They were from the tribes. They were fueled with skepticism and unbelief. And Joshua and Caleb, they were the ones who believed. Now at the end, we know the outcome of that. They stayed in the wilderness for 40 years, 18 stops in the cloud of Paran, where they've been formed and shaped by the dew that raise up every day and water the face of the earth and water the face of Adam. That's a clay body being formed by Yahweh. So that's a symbolism we touched on last week. Now, the similar symbolism I found in the Gerasites, which is one of the enemies. Their name means, or I think it's the Gematria, I can't remember, so much information. The Gerasites has the meaning, or connected to it, that the foundation of clay, or the ground of clay, or the area of clay. And that basically confirms the imperfection of the forming and the making of Adam. Or it can be the altering of Adam. So with the Hivites, this morning when I looked at that has to do with Mount Hermon. Now, for those who don't know, Mount Hermon is referred to in the book of Enoch, where it talks about the watchers who came down upon the mountain of Hermon, and they swore upon the mountain that they will interact and mix with the daughters of man. And that is captured in Genesis 6. And as a result of that, the sons of Anak came into being, which are the men of renown, or the giants. Now, the question that I have is, we all assume that the flood of Noah took care of this misconduct and removed the defilement of Adam, changing the nature and the DNA of man. But when we read this passage in this Torah portion, it talks about the sons of Anak. They still exist, and they are still giants. So where did they come from? Did they grab a piece of floating wood and hang on for dear life and survive the flood? Or was the original sin of mixing the DNA of the watchers or the angels with the DNA of man an ongoing process? If that is so, that process is still carrying on maybe today. So there's a few interesting things we're going to look at in this Torah portion. I don't want to give it all away, but it's actually fascinating to see the forming of Adam, which is from Yahweh's perspective, and the defilement of Adam, which is from this enemy's perspective. That is his sole purpose, is to change the DNA of man, to remove the image of Yahweh from humanity. Now, it's already working when you look at it in the physical level, in the man, people in the world. They don't look like Yahweh anymore. They don't act like Yahweh. It's a bunch of atheists. The majority of humanity don't believe in a God, or at best believe in another God, or a false God, or a counterfeit God. there's a minority group that believe in Yahweh. I include all Christians. But there's even a smaller group that take Yahweh's word serious. And that's the message we had last Sabbath when Yahweh spoke from the mountain to the kingdom of priests, lifting up their heads and getting their attention to focus on the word and taking it serious. So they are associated with the Kohathites, the ones of Ephraim who walk behind the Kohathites, who walk behind the Ark of the Covenant, who walk behind or according to the tablets that are in the Ark of the Covenant. And they are the people who will walk through the Jordan, the time of judgment, because the Kohathites' feet will touch the Jordan River and it will open up. And I believe the Kohathites represent 144,000 chosen ones that are revealed in the book of Revelation. Now, one thing I didn't do that I still want to do is to look at the Gematria of 144,000 and to get an idea of that connection is confirmed, or is it just my imagination, or is it just maybe an idea that might link to the truth in some way. As I said previously, a lot of the things that I come up with through studying the scripture is through connecting the dots. So coloring in between the dots is my interpretation. It might not be 100% accurate. There might be another better interpretation, but I believe with my whole heart, as we go through the parashas every year, we'll find more dots between the larger dots that will connect and refine the truth in a better way, in a more refined way, so we can see things as they are as we search the scripture. Now, the key is to have the foundational understanding of the basics of the storyline of the Torah. The Torah is a story. It's a love story. It's a story where Yahweh created man. It's a story of where Yahweh take a bride unto himself. And in between, that's where the forming of this bride and the calling of the bride takes place. And we need to understand all the multiple layers, that's layer upon layer of truth and different angles and different spiritual layers that is laid upon the same structure of the Torah cycle. And as we go through it, we just get another layer of revelation. I call them the storylines that I try to continue from the start to the end. As Yahweh prompts things in my heart, I just keep on pulling that thread through, and we get another layer, another storyline laying upon the previous one. So I'm very excited with this current one because it's been fascinating, this Torah cycle, and this specific Torah portion is blowing my mind. So I'm very happy of being able to study it, and it's only through the grace of Yahweh, and I'm very excited in sharing it with everyone as we enter into the next Sabbath cycle and on our journey, still counting the Omer, but this time to go to the actual Shavuot, which is right in the middle, which is in I think it's in July, where we have the Omer count of 103, which is the actual Feast of Shavuot, or the pinnacle of the Feast of Shavuot. Hope you enjoyed the studies. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you soon.